How would you describe your character Maarva and how she fits into the larger story that Andor is telling?
Oh, that's quite a nerdist question, isn't it?
Your character Syril Karn isn't even part of the Empire. He's corporate security. He has no real power, and he isn't physically imposing. No offense. And yet, I found him to be one of the most terrifying villains in all of Star Wars. What is it about Karn that makes his kind of evil so unsettling?
Well, I think there are a number of things. I think for one, he is a person who is obsessed with order and power and control. And you'll see why when you go deeper into the series and you meet his mother and you understand the domestic home life he grew up in. But Syril is a person who doesn't really know who he is. And he's in a process of becoming who he thinks he wants to be. And he's looking for that validation, that approval, and that sense of self through the structure of a fascist organization of the empire. And I think that's extremely dangerous when you're willing to do anything at the behest of an organization that takes power and control away from others. He is a moral character. You know, on one level, you could say he's in the corporate security. Some other officers have been murdered. He's just trying to do his job. You know, he's looking into the investigation, and his superiors are saying, "No, don't worry. Like, nobody takes an interest in us. Let's just forget about it." But yeah, I think this deep unknowing of who he is and desire for power over his life, that's quite clinical and dangerous.
So you're playing a bootlicking zealot, and people, until they watch a show, won't know why these are compliments that I'm giving you. He truly believes in the Empire's cause. Who or what did you look to for inspiration when developing the character?
Well, I mean, I've seen all the films, but you know, so those characters live in the walls, I think, when you're kind of working on shows like this, right? But also, like, historically and within works of fiction, like, there are many, many examples of people who were taken away by a cause, you know, and tried to find a sense of who they were, a sense of belonging within that, especially between the world wars. And that was useful. But really, it was Tony Gilroy who just created this. I mean, what was on the page was just so perfect. I almost didn't need to look anywhere else. And he gave me a great freedom at the same time, because I was like, well, I need to plan it out, like 5 years pre-Rogue One, you know, where does he end up? I want to start planting the seeds. And he's like, he could go here, he could go there. But like, I don't know, man. And he was actually gifting me the, like, sit in the I don't know, which actually can be quite dangerous. Like, you don't know if I am going to step over that line, or whether I have the doubts and the fear that will keep me on this side. And I think that is a dangerous place to be.
How would you describe your character Maarva and how she fits into the larger story that Andor is telling?
Oh, that's quite a nerdist question, isn't it? I hope she fits in. I suppose all mothers have to fit in, because mothers are the root of not all evil, but the mothers are the root of all morality. And I think Maarva carries the morality that she hopes will be part of what will connect with Cassian eventually. So she's very important for that. She's also very important in the plot, because she is the history of Ferrix, in that she's lived there all her life. You know, she's traveled around the universe collecting lumps of spaceships and recycled them and resold them and remade them and mended the spaceships belonging to the Empire. So she's a very good example of somebody who lives in Ferrix, and is obviously a very important person in Ferrix for that reason. She's a very humble person, but has become adored in the community because she's obviously full of a moral center. And so what's interesting is, of course, she's also being attacked by the Empire, undermined, I could say, rather than attacked. Well, attacked as well, when the Empire dares to put its focus on this unknowable, unwantable, not particularly beautiful place. But she really is, I suppose, something to tell you. She's the lighthouse that, you know, is trying to catch Cassian's morality.
Well, it's funny you say that she's adored in the community because I think she's going to be an immediate fan favorite. What is it about her that you think viewers will fall in love with?
I think, well, she's old and sick as you meet her at the beginning, but she's also young and swashbuckling as you also meet her later. So we get to know two sides of her life. We get to know her old age, her infirmity, but we really get to know her as a sort of, I suppose, as a moral compass and as a ferocious, not particularly charming. I love that about her. She's not particularly nicey. She's not baking scones and making cookies. That's not who she is. She's a person who worked hard to live. And I think people respect that. I do.
You have what I think is one of the coolest scenes that any rebel in all of Star Wars has. It's been teased in the trailer, so I'm not spoiling anything. The sound of a reckoning.
Yeah.
What was it like to deliver that monologue and that scene?
What I didn't know was going to end up in the trailer, but I'm very glad it has, is that, you know, when somebody has been worn down, as all the people at Ferrix have, and when, you know, this happens many people in their lives, that when finally there's a knock on the door and they've been proved right rather than wrong, it's, I think, it's the calm vindication of knowing that you were right all along, even though you were oppressed all along. So it's a great honor to sometimes tell the baddies where to get off.
Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. This was great.
Good. Nice to meet you, Mike.